Hi, Ivan. Hi,
Hello.
Ivan.
How are you,
Hi.
Ivan, Kumiko?
Great. We are
You
so
good?
happy to have Ivan.
Thank you.
We've been talking about this moment for over a year. So finally we met because Ivan is Belgian and he said he has a better Wi-Fi. We can connect. Thank you, Ivan.
Thank you.
Please tell us how you started your shiatsu journey.
I started through martial arts. I started at 13 years old when I was a kid with Aikido, karate, and many different things. And after something like 25 years of hard training, I was always wondering what is key about. Because all my teacher was speaking with this notion, this concept, but no one, in fact, knows exactly what it was about. So I was at that moment like a bit lost, saying, but is it kind of magic or what? And finally, I found someone who was also an Aikido teacher and a Shiatsu teacher in France. So for the first time, I met Shiatsu, and it was quite an amazing, moment, like illumination. And I say, wow, this is what I want to do in life. So I immediately started to create my own group of study in Paris. We find a young teacher. She was really not very good, in fact. And so at one point we decided just to stop here, and just a bit later, a few months later, I found another teacher coming from Holland. And this lady told me, okay, if you want to, I'm not a teacher, but if you want to study a little bit, you can come as a private student. So it was a one-by-one session, and slowly working on this basic, because as she wasn't a teacher, she had no clue of how to teach this shiatsu things. And finally, I spent 3 years with her, and I moved to Brussels. And in Brussels, I decided to join Kawada Sensei classes for 4 more years. In fact, it's a 3 years classes plus extra classes after when you got a diploma, okay? Postgraduate, exactly, voilà. And so in the end, I have managed to do more or less 8 years of classes, and I studied a little bit of Zen Shiatsu, a lot of Namikoshi, and finally Yoseido Shiatsu. And that's my beginning. But when I was in Brussels, I immediately opened how do you say in English, a place to, a kind of clinic. Yes.
The center, healing center.
Yeah, the Shiatsu center. First I was alone, and then more people came. And after a few months, maybe just 6 months, I was completely full. And I was working 8 hours a day, every day, and every year, all the year long. So it was quite intensive work at the beginning, and I did that for 5 years. Then I decided to start with just one single student, and slowly I opened, a school, then a second school, and now I've got many students here in Belgium, and now more in France. So this is my journey.
And so where are you right now?
Right now, I'm in my first student home. I'm not in my home. I'm now in Brussels, in Belgium. I just come from Southeast Africa, Malawi. And I'm going to France. I have to give 1, 2, 3 different trainings, shiatsu trainings.
So we are all so excited and impressed about your Malawi project. Can you tell us about it? We all share it and like it, and you also have a fundraiser, right?
Yes, there is 2 different aspects in this projects. First one is I have created this MSH platform. It's a web platform where I can promote all the people who have already done this humanitarian shiatsu. Let's call it like this.
But how did it start?
Well, it started a few years ago when one of my students told me, I'm connected with some people in Senegal. So it's the west coast of Africa. And he told me, why not going there and just sharing shiatsu? Let's see what is going on. And finally, we arrived in a small town in the south of the capital, 80 kilometers south. And it was quite well because we were on the seashore, it was perfect, the beach and so on. But we worked in some private clinics. So it was for the common people, you know, poor people especially. And we say, okay, we're here to promote shiatsu, so we are going to open for 10 years, some different rooms in the clinics, and we are going to do it for free. So at the beginning, it was, no one knows what was shiatsu about, you know, it's just, what are you talking about? Is it the Chinese or Japanese thing? No one has any idea. But at the first session, I did a demonstration with the public, especially with the doctors and the nurses. And I say, okay, it's not very interesting to see shiatsu because from the outside, you don't see much. But if you want, we can say to someone to come and I will do a demonstration and my students are going to explain what I'm doing. And in 30 minutes, I've been able to cure a huge migraine. And the lady was so happy that she made a huge communication around our coming. So the next day it was already full. It was just crazy. I don't know, maybe dozens of people waiting in the corridor for this. So it started all like this. And finally they say, next time you're going to teach here. But unfortunately, we had this COVID situation. So we are waiting for the COVID situation to go down, and then we are going back there. So this is the beginning, the real beginning. And when we were at night talking, me and my students, we say, okay, why do we not create something? And in fact, we didn't even have any ideas of how to do it, where to do it, and we just designed the logo. So everything started with just a picture, in fact.
Great.
And slowly, we say, okay, maybe now we're going to do this web platform, promote the people who are doing the same thing in the world, and we want to give the desire from the practitioner to do the same in every kind of places in the world. So that's the main idea. And now we are doing some crowdfundings to help people to have new projects and so on. So this is the MSH project. And as for myself, because I'm living in Malawi and there is nothing, mainly it's it's the third position on the poorest countries, but if you're starting from the bottom. So it's really, really poor. It's complicated and there is no one and nothing. So as people are really poor there, they don't have access to medication or doctors. So I just say to myself, ask to myself, what can I do here with my shiatsu? And I say to myself that maybe I can try to help people by teaching them these techniques. You know, even if it's basic shiatsu, we already have some good results. So if if only I could give this to the populations, to the locals, they can be it's a kind of autonomy, in fact, for health. So that's my point. And I started like this. Finally, I met this, no, how do you say in English? No, eventually I met this guy. He's a guy from Tanzania. He's also a karate teacher. And we have this project to build a dojo there. So half time he will give these karate classes, and the other half I will give the shiatsu classes. for free for the young kids, mostly kids.
That's
okay.
wonderful. What did
So
they
it's-
say about shiatsu?
Sorry.
What did they say about shiatsu? Those
Well, you know, I've done this experience just before leaving. It was only once. It was really interesting. On a Sunday afternoon, we did that, and we started by 1 hour of karate. So after that, they were quite exhausted, and it was good because just after I said, now we are going to do shiatsu for an hour and a half. And we did just some basic stuff on the back, but they were so relaxed at the end and say, okay, who wants to fight anymore? And say, no, we are so good.
oh, that's wonderful.
So yes, it was quite funny. So they love it. Immediately, they asked me to come back in September and to give regular classes now. And so I'm quite happy of that. And the good surprise was that my friend did some research about the prices, you know, to build a building, to create this dojo. And he told me, yes, I've got the prices. I'm so sorry because it's a lot of money. And when I converted it in euro or in dollars, in fact, it's $2,000 or $3,000, something like this. And say, wow, I think we can manage to do this.
Definitely.
So it's a complete different world because with their money, their own money in their currency, it's millions and millions. So for them, it's a huge amount of money. But in fact, when translated in your currency, it's not much. So I say, okay, what is the surface in it? He told me, well, it's going to be 250 square meters. I say, wow.
How big? 250?
250 square meters.
Nice.
So, yeah, for that amount of money, I say, okay, we're going to do it because it's quite cheap. It's quite cheap. Yeah. So that's my project for now.
The time frame. How do you think it will play out?
So I've launched the crowdfunding. It will last all the summer long. And when I go back in September, it will be over. So at that moment, we are going to be able to start the buildings. And it can go very fast. In that country, I think in less than 1 month, we can do that.
That's exciting.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, I saw the pictures. They are on the ground. They are walking on the Brother Meridian. Oh, it's beautiful pictures you have.
Yes,
Yes,
I have a French friend there who is a photographer, so he helped me a lot with pictures.
Wonderful.
But what is interesting in those pictures, if you look again, there is some digging around.
Yes.
So in fact, the karate teacher with his students, they take the hoe and the shovels and they start to dig, thinking, okay, we're going to do this thing. And finally, because we have no money, they stop. So it's like this. So when I saw this, I say, oh, you already start. Now we just have to put the bricks and the roof and the floor. It's, well, okay, we can do this easily. But it's not just about me. It's I really want to promote Shiatsu in all the southern continents, because every time when I'm traveling a lot, and I've been many times in Southeast Asia, now in Africa. I hope one day I will be able to go to South America also. And what I see is everywhere the people are really keen in learning different things, in learning any kind of things. So when you just say, okay, I know a technique about this or that, you say, okay, just teach me. If you do it for free, it's perfect, because anyway, they got no money. So what is great is to just share it, you know?
Yes.
Yeah.
What we need is only hands and a nice, kind heart. And
yeah, exactly.
wonderful.
And as I say, I often say that we have all the power within our hands. That's enough. That's enough. Even if you consider Shiatsu just as a mechanical technique, we can do a lot. If you open your heart and you play with energy, you can do so much, of course. But you know, it's okay to start with basic things. especially in those countries, because they don't have the same culture, the same approach. So if you start to talk about key energy, it's very difficult because they don't understand what you're talking about. But they are very religious also. So thanks to that, I am often saying, okay, it's like the light of God coming through your hands. I say, okay, so now we know what we're doing. It's just a question of, how do you explain this?
That's wonderful. So
Thank
those
you.
students of yours, young and old, anybody? Everybody
Yes.
can learn?
Yes, anybody can come, of course, because Shiatsu is open to everybody, but
Yes.
mainly it's, in Malawi, we are going to do in 2 steps. First, we are going to teach to those karate students. So some people are grown-ups, some people are youngsters, and mostly kids in the neighborhood. The kids don't go to school. Half of them or more have drugs problem or alcohol problems, and they are suffering also from violence. So the deals
From
is
what?
violence, domestic violence or sexual aggression, violence.
Okay.
Yes. So those young kids, they need help. They need a lot. So the project is to say to those kids, okay, you can go, you can come to our classes. It's for free, but we don't want to see you anymore under any kind of addiction. You have to quit. So that's the first step, is to take care of these students. The second step is to open the Shiatsu classes in a refugee camp. It's not far away.
There is no help, or is there for alcohol addiction? Is there centers or something?
Yeah,
so you have that mission as well.
NGOs, of course, there is a lot of NGOs. There is maybe 2,000 different NGOs in that country, and plus all the UN, agencies. But the problem is they are or too big, or mainly in the big cities, not in the countryside. So this dojo is a little bit outside from the capital. It's 20 kilometers away. So immediately you can face all the daily troubles they have to deal with. So it's really interesting. Even in the capital already, it's not the situation is sometimes very complicated for the people in their daily life, but in the countryside, this is ethic. So what we're doing now is to open this dojo, not in the capital center, but outside. That's why we're doing that. So as I said just before, the second step will be to go in a refugee camp. And we have a huge refugee camp at, I don't know, just half an hour driving away. And there is 40,000 people in it. So imagine it's like a huge city with small tents. And it's mainly refugees from other countries, because the countries around are have some political issues or war or things like that. So we have people coming from Congo, as example, or Rwanda, or Burundi, or Burkina Faso, and those people, they are mostly speaking French in that camp. So they are struggling every day, living with very little money and just access to a bit of water. So some NGOs are here to open some schools to help the people and so on. So I want also to go inside and teach Shiatsu, because of course, if for the normal population, they don't have access to curation treatments, in that camp, there is mostly nothing. So it could be really interesting. And the second point in that camp is because those people, they are former enemies. So they don't like to be all together in the same camp. So my point is to use Shiatsu to make peace inside.
Yes.
As you know, when you touch someone, he doesn't want to kick you after that. So it's exactly this simple idea, but on a large scale. So that's exactly what I want to do here.
Wonderful. So how Shiatsu people can help you? How can we help you?
Well, you can help me in many different ways. Essentially, you can help me by sharing my articles and promote all of what I'm doing on MSH. The second thing, of course, you can help me with money and send me some money in the different crowdfunding campaign I'm doing.
Yes.
But yes, for sure, you can do that. And
we are doing that. We are sharing
okay.
across our social media.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
And but it's not just for me, it's also for the other people, because every time one school is open somewhere, of course it's good for Shiatsu promotion, but it's also the ability to have kind of, you know, a camp somewhere or a base somewhere in the world, and so you can invite teachers or students to come and say, okay, who wants to try Shiatsu in that condition? And it's really, really different from Europe or USA or Northern America, because the conditions are completely different. The culture is different. The weather is different. Everything is different. And when you do that, it's always such a wonderful experience, because your heart is not the same when you're coming back. It's just boom, your heart is wide open. And sometimes, of course, sometimes you're crying. You're crying a lot in that experience. But it's so good because you find your humanity in doing this.
It's really rewarding.
It is, of course, it is. I've sent, when I was, last year I was teaching here in Brussels, some of my students, when I was going to Senegal, some of my students were going to northern India in an orphanage. And I was explaining them, when you're doing this, be serious, but also be ready to cry, because it's going to be very emotional too, with all these kids. And I was in India a few years before, so I know what it is. It is about, sometimes the situation are very bad, very hard. And they came back completely transformed from the inside, you know. It's such a smile in the face, shining, and say, oh, wow, this is awesome. And yes, it was awesome. And I want to do as much as I can to promote this all around the world, and say to the students from the northern hemisphere to go in the southern hemisphere. So now we need that.
Definitely, definitely. Oh,
Okay.
so that's wonderful, Ivan.
Thank you.
You for taking such a huge project.
It's one of my many projects. I've got always 10 ideas per minute. So this is this is the one I'm working on now. And later you'll see I've got different things.
All right, it's wonderful.
So what is Shiatsu for you? That means, from what you're saying, that you really have a deep, deep mission in your heart.
Yes, I don't know why, exactly why, but since I'm a kid, I was really little, and my parents say, okay, you're going to have a sister or brother. I say, oh, fantastic, I want a Japanese one. They say, no, it's not exactly like this. No,
But we have a big family, Shiatsu family.
Now I've got a worldwide Shiatsu family. It's fantastic. Every day I'm having a lot of emails from every corner of the world. So I love that. I really love that. And you were, Eva, you were asking about my dedication. It's not a dedication at all. It's just like that. I don't have the choice. From the inside, I say, okay, I have to promote this and this and that, because I love what I'm doing. I don't consider it like a work or a job. It's just my pleasure.
Definitely.
Yes, but
we feel the same way. Eva and I feel the same way.
Yeah, but it's the deeper mission of really healing, the whole communities, the big groups of people that suffer from poverty and violence and addictions. That is a huge mission that you are doing. And I must say that the impact of things that you do, it's not just in where you are. It was so impressive to all Shiatsu community around the world. And the love, your mission, your heart, it really rippled throughout the world, and it's so much empowering to all Shiatsu practitioners, because knowing that you are doing, you're a pioneer, and and you really empower everyone.
Stop, because I'm blushing. No, I'm just, it's like Mark Twain, in the American author, say, he didn't know that it was impossible, so he did it. So it's exactly this. I'm not asking to myself, okay, is it possible or not? No, I'm just here, I'm doing something, okay. And one thing after another, and then now is, of course, I'm a good communicator, especially on the social network, so it helps. But I want to add something on what you say. It's not just about the poor people in the southern continents. We have the same situation in our developed countries. And I'm promoting also the people who are helping maybe just next door from their clinic. And a lot of people are suffering in the streets. A lot of people are suffering in their job. So we are all like pioneers, because we are in this kind of, let's say, war against disease and distress, all the people who have some burnouts, or people who have nothing in their life is going on well. So we can do a lot, sometimes just two blocks away, you can do a lot. So don't think just about those continents because it's exotic, but think also about your neighborhood. It's really important.
Definitely.
But knowing that you are doing pioneering, that you are doing what you do in Africa, that is so impressive. That gives all of us energy to do it where we are, because we feel connected with you.
Well, if so, I'm really happy. It's exactly what I wanted to do. So that's perfect. I want to give this spirit to give opportunity, and also to give this spirit to people. Say, yeah, if you can do that, everybody can do the same. So that's exactly what I want. So now I'm receiving some more and more people are calling me and say, okay, now I want to open a mission or something in Mongolia. Imagine Mongolia, wow, it's so far away.
Yes.
We want to do something. Recently, someone called me, say, I want to open in Nepal. Wow, Nepal, you have to go there. Huh? It's far away. So yes, it's great to have these people wanting to do a lot of things. So I just can give a lot of advice, is say, okay, before doing this, please go slowly, have some contacts in the countries, do some connection with NGOs there, and then slowly and slowly you're going to build your project. But don't say, okay, I'm going to take my backpack and I go, because you will see that you're going to face a lot of problems, in fact. Every country is different.
Definitely, we need to respect local people. We need to understand, we need to know what they need, and then we need to offer our shiatsu.
And especially because we are always living from our easy life, we have all these ideas about what is well-being. In fact, those people have different ideas and different needs. So it's always good to have a lot of information before leaving. One example is when I came to Malawi, I was thinking about all this, what I was doing here mainly in Europe. So all the psychological issues, mental troubles, whatever you need, just name it, you have plenty. But when you're going to those countries, they mainly ask me two things, and that's it. They're suffering from the back, because they are working hard in the fields. or in their daily life. And they used to use a lot of tools, but they are always like this, digging or whatever they're doing. So there are a lot of back issues. And the second thing is the food is not good. So they got a lot of stomach troubles. But outside from that, I'm not doing much. That's really special, because I was quite surprised of this situation when you get used, to do a lot of different things, especially in Europe, with people with their brain, with their mental, with even with their spirituality, but also stomach issues, gut problems, whatever kind. We have so many diseases there, but those people are really strong. In fact, they are really strong. They don't have the same hygiene as us, not the same food, and so on. Very little food, in fact, but they are so strong. They can survive any kind of disease. Like if you got malaria, if you don't have proper medics, you're going to die very, very soon. They have malaria 2 or 3 times a year, and they just take herbal tea, and that's enough. So you can see the difference of the immune system. They are much stronger than we are. It's interesting. It's very interesting. So I'm doing basic things in Africa for now, but that doesn't mean you don't have to know a lot, because sometimes it's all about, like we say in Chinese medicine, humidity and heat, because we are under the tropics. So when it's the rainy season, a lot of humidity problems in the meridians. And when it's the dry, a lot of heat. And when you are in between, it's heat and humidity at the same time. So if you don't know those pathological problems, well, it's too bad for you, because you can't help the people also. So you have to need to know, of course, your as a good practitioner. I mean, you have to know the Kampo medicine, Chinese medicine, whatever you need, you name it. Whatever you need, it's those knowledge are very useful also.
So I'm curious about, you said that they are strong. And when you, from your observation, when you work in Europe and when you work where you are in Malawi, you said that people are stronger. So from your observation, you think that the diseases come from, because they're more simple. So it comes from emotional problems, depression, and more developed countries, the psychological problems are more advanced.
We are not more simple than we are, because we are all human beings with a huge brain, but we have much less problems than we have, and less obligation too, less administration, a lot of things less. So life is simpler from that point of view. Yeah, sure. So you have less things in your head, so it helps a lot. And emotions, yes, like every human beings, we have a lot of emotions, but it's very simple emotion. You're happy, mainly, they are mainly always happy, or you are sad, but that's it. Or sometimes you can feel some anger, but we are more, how to say that, it's difficult to translate for me from French to English, but we have a lot of emotion every day coming through our heart. They don't.
Yeah, so, because we have loans, we have bank accounts, we have professional problems, careers, and so there's more complications. Yes. I know we are the same, and I meant simpler life. Yeah. So does that affect physical health?
Yes. So of course, indeed, it changed a lot. It's so the consequences on your health are very different from that point of view. When the mental and emotion are shaking your insides, of course, the health is following on the bad way, I mean, down way. What did you say just before? You said something interesting, not just that it's a simpler, no. What did you say? Just, can you remind me? You say something
yes,
interesting.
because we have so much more problems in Europe. Does that affect, from your observation, more affects our bodies?
That does affect, indeed. As the doctors and especially the surgeons or let's say the anatomist people, they say the people in the northern hemisphere, especially Europe and North America, we are the weakest human generation ever. We are not very strong. If you compare with people from middle age, they were short but very large, very strong. So we are completely different because of the food, because of many things. And it's really interesting to see the modern recent history of China, as example. I was in China in the 90s, at the beginning of the 90s. People were very small, in fact. And when I came back 10 years later, I start to see some very tall Chinese people. I say, wow, what a change in only 10 years. What happened in just one generation? Well, the food changed, especially the milk and the sugar came in between. They were not eating only rice. So the food is helping a lot to grow, but at the same time, you have a lot of imbalances with this. So it's all this story of we want to develop the world, we want to promote our way of life, but sometimes I'm not sure it's the best way. We can do it differently, I'm pretty sure, and Shiatsu can help to that.
Yes.
Another question?
No, this is great, Ivan. But it's
Thank you.
already almost 1 hour.
Wow.
We interview you.
Okay, I'm speaking a lot. Sorry.
Wonderful. So
no, we are hoping,
right, on July.
Yes, okay, I will be there with you, no problem.
Wonderful.
Okay, I want to thank you very much for taking your time to interview me, and I'm really sorry for my bad English. I did my best.
Beautiful English.
Okay, let's see.
It was great talking to you, and I hope we will have a chance to talk more. I have so many more questions about,
wow.
And so, yeah, and I'm sure that many people will enjoy your observations and what you have to say, because our eyes are on you.
Wow,
and we give you
it's
much
a lot
love
of pressure
and
you're putting on me. Okay.
It's much love and support that we are giving you.
Okay, thank you so much.
I keep an eye on social media, and I see how people are impressed and supportive and empowered. So they receive your love and give it back to you.
Thank you so much, Eva. So if you have any question, just contact me, and I'm always answering to everybody who is writing to me, so there's no problem. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm so happy. Our traditional shiatsu is reaching out so many people in so many different locations and so many layers. So many people are suffering, and we like to help as much as we can by sending this beautiful message. Definitely we help. Somebody will listen to us, somebody may change their lifestyle, may change the way they think, they may stop commit suicide. We don't know what kind of impact we can give. We just need to keep going with Shiatsu, and really appreciate, Ivan, your support, your great mission, and we'd like to help you as much as we can. You have a backup and our support from all Shiatsu community for all. Thank you, and see you on July 3rd.
Okay, thank you.
We continue
Bye-bye.
our conversation. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.